What's going on, guys? Welcome to your 26 Java tutorial again with me, Travis. What we're going to learn about in today's tutorial is this static and what that means, how we can define static variable types. My furnace is going off, so hopefully it's not too blurry of audio. Anyways, let's get into today's tutorial. All we've done so far, if you guys are new to the series, we've created a class called Travis, as you can see here, and within the Travis we extend some sort of a character setup. You won't really need this extends for this tutorial if you're just coming here to learn what static means. But when we create a Travis object, we want it to have some variables of its own, so we're going to create two variables. We're going to call one counter, and we're going to set this equal to be 0. Let's create another static integer variable, and we're going to see the difference. We're going to say sCounter for static counter, and we're just going to set this equal to be 0 as well. And then we're going to set up a constructor within this class, so you can just hit control space, hit enter for a default constructor, as you can see here. So what's going to happen when we create a Travis object is all we're going to do is add one to each of our variable types. So we're going to say counter plus plus, bam, sCounter static counter plus plus, and bam with the semicolon. There we go. So now both of our variables are now equal to be 1 after we create a object, because they're initially 0. When we call the new Travis, it's going to just add 1 to the current counter. And now we're going to go back to our starting point class, and all we're going to do is a system print out of our variable type or instance called Travis, and we're just going to say counter, and that's what we're going to print out. And we're just going to copy this line and paste it because we're lazy. That's what we do. And we also are going to outprint our static variable, so we're going to say sCounter. So we're going to save this, run it, and as expected we have a 1-1. That's cool, right? But the thing that I want to note real quick is Eclipse has given us kind of a warning, like some yellow squiggly lines. He's like, alright, yeah, you aren't supposed to cross the street when the light's not green, so I know it's not illegal sometimes, but I'm just warning you, you aren't doing this quite properly. And we're like, hey, computer, we don't even care right now. We don't even know what static means. That's why we're watching this tutorial, so just give me some time here. What we're doing here is, again, just printing out our variables from this Travis object. But let's say we want to create another Travis object. Let's pretend we're creating a game, and we have Travises on the screen, which are enemies, and we don't want to have like 400 enemies on the screen at one time because it's going to slow down our application, right? So we want some kind of a counter to count to make sure there's only like 5 total enemies, and basically that's what the static's going to allow us to do, but we haven't got into that yet. All we're going to do is create another Travis object, pretty much the same thing, right? And we aren't going to system print out t.counter, or actually we will. Good idea, Travis. You're a genius. And there we go. So we have our new variable called t, which is, again, is a Travis type. We're going to print out the counter, and we're also going to print out the counter of this other Travis right here. And then we're going to count out our static variable of this Travis as well. So let's save it, see what happens. And we get some kind of a weird thing going on. We have a 1-1, which we'd expect, but our static variable is now 2. And you're like, okay, that's kind of crazy. That was unexpected. But let's see why that's happening. So let's investigate a little bit what this static variable is actually doing. Whenever we define a variable as static, it's going to be like, alright, that's cool, but you know, I'm going to stay static. I'm going to be what I want to be for each object you create from the Travis class. You know, I'm just going to stand my ground. I don't know if that made sense, but let's kind of break down everything that's going on real quickly. We're going to go back to our starting point class. We create a Travis object, and it calls the default constructor, as you can see here when we create this Travis here. So we're going to jump over here, and it's going to be like, okay, you want a Travis object? Yeah, I can hook you up, bro. I'm going to hook you up with an int variable type called counter. We're going to set that equal to 0, and it's going to be like, okay. But when it gets to this line where we create the static variable, what it's going to do is it's going to pull out its like phone records. It's going to browse through there and be like, okay, I know you are trying to create a Travis object right now, but I'm just checking. I know you want it to be set equal to 0, but that's what we're going to set equal to the first time this ever happens. You know, we're just going to do it once, and now I need to check my records, see if it's actually the first time you're creating it. It's going to be like, alright, yeah, it's the first time you're creating it. It's going to be equal to 0, and then once we call our constructor, obviously it's going to be +1. But let's go back to our starting point class. We create this next Travis object. It's going to be like, alright, you want me to go back to the Travis class? That's cool. I'm going to walk over there again. Thanks for making me do that, jerk. And it's going to be like, alright, you want another Travis object? Let me create it for you. Yeah, here's an int counter. We're going to set that equal to 0 for you. And it's going to be like, oh, static. Let me check my records again. Pulls out that, you know, whatever, phone records. And he looks through it, and he's like, oh, yeah. I know you want it to be 0, but, you know, it's already set to 1 because you already added 1 to it. And since it's a static object, we're going to keep it as is. We're going to keep it at 1. And then we're like, okay, that's kind of cool. And then we call the constructor again for that other Travis object, which we called T. And it's going to now set our counter equal to 1 because it was 0. And then it's just going to add 1. And then it's going to look through our static records, and it's going to be like, okay, it was 1, and now it's equal to 2. So I don't know if that makes sense, but now we can just create as many Travis objects as we want. We're going to call this one Trav. We're going to call new Travis. And now our static variable, when we print this out, it's going to be 3 because, oh, and it's giving me an error because I'm just going to do args. That's kind of default there. We're just going to save that and run it, and now it's going to be equal to 3 because the static won't reset itself to be like 0 once you're creating a Travis object. It's going to be like, okay, you know, you have a static variable type, so it's going to be the same for all your classes. Like, you know, I know you want it to be 0, but you know, that's what you signed up for when you use static. So I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain exactly how the static thing works, but it's always going to be kind of the same for all of your classes. So again, right when we created this first Travis object, static was set equal to 0, and then we called our constructor, so it added 1 to the static integer. And then we created another Travis object, and our static integer was 1, but once it calls this constructor, now our static integer is equal to 2, and then we create another Travis object, obviously, called the constructor, and then the static integer is now equal to 3. So when we do our system printout of our first Travis object right here, and then we use the static counter, it's going to print out 3. But now let's get to the warning, because the reason it's giving us a warning is because, you know, whether we have Travis or trav.sCounter or t.sCounter, it's all going to be the same because it's a static variable. We've changed it a few times, but it's going to be the same no matter what for all of these objects that we've created. So basically all it's going to say is, hey, instead of just referring to the instance of the object that you create here, just refer to the class that has that static object. So our class name right here. And then we aren't going to have that error because, again, static object is going to be the same for each object or each Travis that we create. So basically we just want to refer to the class name and then our static variable if we need to refer to that variable anywhere in our program. So again, I'm sorry guys if the static thing's kind of confusing you. I tried to break it down somewhat so you kind of understand, but you'll get kind of more familiar with it, just like all of our tutorials so far, the more we use them. So again, just stick with the tutorial series, and if you guys are confused, sorry, but hopefully it'll make more sense as we go, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great day.